Merlin, Excalibur, and the Lady of the Lake. The sword Excalibur and the Lady of the Lake. The sword in the stone was famous, but Arthur was to have a sword called Excalibur that was more famous still. One day, in a terrible battle, the sword Arthur had pulled from the stone was broken. Arthur was rescued by Merlin, who then took him to find another sword. Merlin led him to a lake in a forest. In the center of the lake, an arm, clothed in white silk, jutted up from the surface. The hand held a gleaming sword in a jeweled scabbard. "That is the magic sword Excalibur," Merlin said. "The Lady of the Lake will give it to you. Look, she's coming from her castle, which is carved in the rock. You must be respectful to her, and do what she tells you." The Lady of the Lake appeared to them. "You may have the sword," she said softly, "if you give me a gift when I ask for it." "That I shall do," said Arthur. Then he and Merlin rowed out into the lake. Arthur lifted the sword by its handle, and the arm and the hand sank below the water. Then Arthur and Merlin bid the Lady of the Lake goodbye. "Tell me," said Merlin, as they rowed along, "which do you prefer, the sword or the scabbard?" "The sword," said Arthur, who was greatly pleased with it. "You are a fool," said Merlin, "for the scabbard is magic too, and whoever wears it cannot lose blood, no matter how badly he is injured." Thus spoke Merlin, who could tell everyone's future by his own. He couldn't see the terrible trap the Lady of the Lake would set for him, a trap which even his magic couldn't protect him from. Merlin and the Lady of the Lake. One day, as Merlin was making his way through the forest, he came upon Vivian, the Lady of the Lake, beside her watery home. Vivian was an enchantress, and she wove a spell of wonder on him. Merlin fell desperately in love with her. Vivian asked Merlin to teach her all his magic arts, which were the greatest in the world, and he taught her many. But Vivian wasn't content and looked for a way that she might keep him by her side forever. Some say this was because she was helping a wicked princess who wanted Merlin out of the way. Others say it was because Vivian loved Merlin and wanted him never to leave her. Whatever the reason, Vivian asked Merlin to use his magic to make a castle, a place so strong that it could never be destroyed, where they could live together forever. Merlin agreed, but then Vivian said, "Show me how I can make the castle myself, so I can make it just the way I like it." And Merlin taught Vivian the magic to conjure up the castle, and as she conjured out of the clouds rose bright walls of stone towering in the air, with gleaming turrets. On the front of the castle was a wrought iron gate so strong none could break it. "Be assured," Merlin told the Lady of the Lake, "no one can come or go except as you wish." Vivian smiled and showered Merlin with affection. One day, as they sat under a tree in the forest, Vivian sang sweetly to Merlin and lulled him to sleep. While he slept, she circled him 9 times, weaving him in her spells like a spider's silver web, until she could not escape. She brought him to the castle and bound him there forever, so that he could not leave except as she chose, while she came and went as she pleased. So Merlin was trapped by the very magic that made him great. Some say he was happy in the castle his magic helped to build with the woman he loved, while others say he strove to escape but couldn't. Either way, he never saw Arthur again, nor was he ever seen again at Camelot.